Welcome back to the GODOT top-down shooter tutorial in 3D. In this video, we're finally going to get into the user interface. Now, we're going to create a pretty simple user interface. The GODOT user interface tool is actually pretty advanced and you can do some really cool stuff with it. We're just going to keep it nice and simple. So, first thing we're going to do is to go ahead and get our resources ready. So I'm going to actually make a new folder down here and call it resources. And then I'm going to open that in the file manager and I'm going to bring some resources across. Now these are the things that you're going to need and it's up to you to find them. I'm not going to provide them for you. You should be kind of using your own resources here. And I'm going to get a sprite that I'm going to use for ammo counter. Now I just found these on Google Images. They were free clip art things, not Google Images, on different various websites, searching Google Images. So we want that one. We want some kind of a heart icon and also a font. Now the font that I chose was from a website called Blambot. These are free. I'm not sure why that says it cannot be copied. So let's go ahead and copy that to resources. And this one was called Armor Piercing. Blambot.com is a free font website. It's not actually free. There's a lot of stuff on there that you do have to pay for, but there's a lot of cool fonts on there that you don't have to pay for, and they're free for commercial, educational use, whatever. So this one was called Armor Piercing. I really like it, and it looks pretty cool. So we've got these things done here. I'm going to go back into Godot. It's going to automatically import these resources for me, and it's done that in here. So with that done, we're going to go ahead and create, in this video we're going to create the user interface and a script to go with it, and in the next video we are going to create the interactions and then update that user interface. So before we go any further, we're going to create a folder here, call it new folder, call it scripts, and I'm actually going to just create a new script in here. Now this script is going to be called game, we'll call it player info.gd, and we're going to, or player stats.gd, that's what it will be called, and we're going to create that in there. Now I'm going to go ahead and edit that script straight away. We'll delete all this stuff. It should just extends node. And we're not going to create an object to go with this. In fact, we're going to use this as the object itself. So let's go ahead and create some variables that we're going to use in here. This is going to be a global object that we will be able to access from any component, which is going to make our life a lot easier. So the UI is going to pull information from this. The player is going to be able to interact with it. We're going to make some methods that go along with this so that we're not manually changing variables in here, but that we are using functions to change them, which will also validate them at the same time. So let's go ahead and export some different variables. So we need, these are going to all be integers. So export in, actually we don't even need to export them because this is not going to show up anywhere. So we'll just go var health max, var health, sorry, var ammo max, lives max. Okay, and then we're going to have our func ready. And in here, we're going to define all of these things. Why do I get the error? I'm not sure why there was an error still at the top. Health equals 100, max health equals 100, ammo equals 1000, max ammo equals 1000, and lives equals 3, max lives equals 5. Alright, so these are our variables here. Max health, oh, I've put it around the wrong way, haven't I? Okay, so we'll go health max, ammo max, and lives max. Okay, so with those done, we are going to go ahead and create a few methods. Now, we could use this player stats.gd, and we could change these, but what happens if we go to add health to it and it goes above the health max? We don't want to have different places in the code where we're checking to see the maximum health. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a method here that will change the health by a certain amount, positive or negative, whatever we send through to it, and then it's going to validate it. All three of these functions are going to look identical, by the way, and we will go ahead and just kind of rewrite them 3 times. So the first one is func change health, and in this bracket, this is a parameter. This is going to accept a value. So when we send it something, I'll just put pass in here and see if I can find another code. See, like delta, for example, is a parameter. Body is a parameter, and we can refer to that parameter in here. Now, these are existing ones that already come built into Godot, but we are creating our own one. So when we call the change health function, we're going to send it an amount. It could be positive or negative. And what we're going to do is add that health plus equals amount. Some of you may be familiar with the health equals health plus amount. This is a shorter way of writing it. And then we just validate it. If health, actually we'll do a clamp. Clamp would be better. Health equals clamp, health, 0, health max. Now what clamp does is it gets this value, and then returns either this value or 0 if it's below 0, or this value if it's above that value. And then we'll store it in health. So my original code, I'll show you what my original code looked like, and then I just thought, why not actually do it a little bit simpler? So that was the original code. If health is greater than health max, health equals health max. If health is less than 0, health equals 0. But clamp will do the exact same thing. So let's go ahead and do it for change ammo. Amount, ammo plus equals amount, and then ammo equals clamp, ammo 0, ammo max. Now notice if we send it a negative number, it's going to plus equals a negative number, which will reduce it. So we can use this change ammo by multiple ways. Func change lives, amount, lives plus equals amount, and then lives equals clamp, ammo 0, oops, not ammo, lives 0, lives max. Now, in this code, we are going to be able to reference health, ammo, and lives, but what we should do, and what you would normally do in a object-oriented program, is you wouldn't let these variables be directly accessible by other parts of the code. So we're going to actually create this, and Godot does this with a lot of things, and you've probably seen me use things like set value and get value. That's because we can access the value directly, but it's not recommended in case you screw it up. So we're going to go ahead and go get health. And this is going to return health. Func get ammo. We're going to return ammo. Func get lives, return live. And we might have one more that we can use here. Func has ammo, and we're going to return ammo greater than 0. Okay, so what this is going to do is it's going to check this expression, is ammo greater than 0, and return true or false. So we can actually use this when we shoot our gun to make sure that we have ammo. Yep, that's probably the best way to do it. All right, so let's go ahead and save that script, and we're going to add it to the list of things that always gets loaded. So let's go ahead, project settings, auto load, and I'm going to select that script. So it's here, playerstats.gd. We're going to give it a name. We'll call it player stats, and add that. It's capital P, capital S, because this is going to be its kind of own object in memory. And we'll click close. All right, now we'll come back to this in a minute, but we've got this here ready to go. Let's go ahead and add in the actual user interface. So we're going to create a new scene here. This is the user interface node, and I'm going to call this user interface. Now the script for this we'll come back to later, but we are going to add a script to it and click create. We'll come back to that later. We can delete those bits in there. So let's go ahead and add some components to our scene. Now you'll notice here over on the right, we've got all kinds of cool things like anchors. So if you were to say resize it on different screens or have it on mobile or different types of mobiles, they all have different resolution. You can set it up so that the UI will adapt to any of these. There's a really good tutorial on the Godot website, and there's plenty of other tutorials on YouTube for this. We're just going to focus on our simple one here for our basic screen size, which isn't going to change. So we're going to keep this fairly simple. This one here, we're going to add in, first of all, we're going to add our ammo counter. So it's not going to be called ammo counter. It's actually going to be a label. It's under control, and it's the label. I'm actually going to put it all the way over here on the right hand side, about here. Okay, so with that, we're going to add up here, we'll just say X1000. Now there's a few things we want to do. We want to make it so that this actually has a font. So down here under custom fonts, we can tick font and we can click new dynamic font. Then we can click on that and we can go to font and click font data load, and we can load our font. And that's in there. Now I can change the size. So settings, I'm going to turn this up. Probably going to turn it up to about 40. That seems pretty good there. Now I'm going to add in an image. So this is going to be a texture rect, this one here. And it's going to be a child of that. It's going to go here, but I'm going to actually move it just a bit to the left. What it means is that this, if I move this around, the texture rect will move with it. So we don't have to constantly rejig everything if we don't like where it is. The texture, I'm going to click on resources. I'm going to drag my ammo counter into the texture. It's really big. If I click expand and then click on keep aspect, I should be able to resize this down quite a bit. So keep aspect will do that, and I can rotate it. Now unfortunately the rotate is not there, it's under the rect bit, and I can rotate that rect and pop that there. So there's my ammo counter. Okay, the next thing we're going to add is the health bar. So the health bar is I just need to find this. I always forget where it is. So I'll just find where it is. Range progress bar. Okay, so this progress bar here is going to be our health bar. I'm going to rename this health bar. I'll rename some of these other things. This one is going to be ammo count. This is going to be ammo count picture, and the health bar. Now I just need to bring up my health bar settings on the right because I've played around with this for a little bit, and we want to get some values here. So I'm going to set the anchor for this one. I'm just going to set the anchor to be 20 from the left and 20 from the top. That's for the health bar. Where's it gone? Oops. And then 400 for the right and 60 there. Now it's disappeared and I've no idea where it's actually gone. That's really bizarre. That is bizarre. Oh, the anchor. Pushed the wrong one. Don't change the anchor. We want that to be 0. It's the margins we want to change, which is going to be 20, 20, and then 400, and then 60. Now this has this big 0% thing in it, which we don't want. So you can click at the top here, percent, and click visible. We don't want that. And going down here, there's a few other values that I want to play around with. Right at the bottom, there is this custom styles. And I can click that, and I can click on background. So we want to actually have a custom background style. There's loads of different things you can do with this. So what it actually does is you can take all those fancy little UIs that you download from those game dev websites, and you can style it in here so that you get these really cool UIs. We're going to stick with it really simple. Ours is just going to be a style box flat. I think that's what we want. Oops, I'm just looking at my previous one, which I can't quite see what it is. Yeah, it is style box flat. Cool. So style box flat, and the settings for this, I'm going to set the background color by clicking on here. And I can set the background color to be, I'm going to set it a little bit more transparent, and I'm going to set it to black. Okay, so we've got that transparent color there. And then I'm going to set the corner radius, but I'm only going to set the right-hand side of it. The left-hand side is going to be flat and square. The right-hand side, so the bottom right, I'm going to set a radius here of 8, and the top right, 8. Now, if you can see that, what it's done is the left is square, but the right-hand side is rounded. Now, you can play around with this. You don't have to do it this way. This is just how I'm doing it. And then I'm going to put in the foreground, which is also going to be a style box flat. This one is I'm going to click on that. I'm going to change the color of this to red. And the corner radius of this is going to be, we'll say top right, it's going to be 8 as well. Bottom right is going to be 8. Now we don't see this one until we give it a value over here. Say if I give it a value of 50, that shows up there. And click rounded, but it's all good. Now I can put a border on this too. So border width, we'll go left, top, right, bottom, and I get a border on that. If I click on border, I can change the border color. So I might make it a darker red, like that. So there we've got a little health bar, and this is going to change shortly. Okay, so we've got that health bar, and lastly, we're going to create a life counter. This is actually going to be identical to the ammo counter, so I can just duplicate this one and bring it down here and change it to life counter and life counter picture. I'm going to bring that over to here. Now, if I drag that, you'll see that the bullet goes with it. But this here, I'm going to change that texture to be the heart. It goes really tiny. We'll just reset the rect on this one here, so don't need that, so we'll set it to 0. And I can scale this size up a little bit. I'm not sure what that dash there is. This pixel art had a bit of an error in it. And I want to change the text of this one to just say 3 for now. Don't know why that went down. I'm going to move that heart a bit more to the left, and then move this to the right and up here. Okay, so we have got our little user interface at the moment. We've got values on it, and in the next video we'll look at making it interact with this. If I hit play now, this scene has never been saved before running, yes. We'll call it user interface, save it into my scenes folder. That's just the scene running. So if I click on test level, hopefully my camera's at the right location. I should get nothing. One last thing we've got to do, project settings, auto load, and let's set this to load. This may not be the best way to do it at the moment, but or it is the best way to do it right now. Long term, it's probably not the best way, but we'll do it for now. User interface, you see it, there it is. And I'll just click user interface, add that, and hit play. Okay, so there's our user interface. As I move around, it stays on the screen. Now you can add whatever things you want to this. We've got our enemy down here still shooting, and so on. All right, next video, we'll look at creating some code that actually will get our game to work a little bit better, because at the moment nothing happens. We just walk around, we can't shoot anything, we can't interact with anything. It's just pretty basic.